Good morning. Denise Dryden here in Whitefish doing my weekly Sunday morning discussions, explorations, whatever we want to call them, on the different challenges we have in relationships, with energy, with frequency, and always from a coaching sort of family perspective. Sitting outside where we're seeing the very end of some of the summer blooms, and this little pathway behind me has deer on it constantly. So I was hoping that while we're doing this, that as in last time, we have some sort of buck or doe go by. So I want to start with, have you noticed that how you can have a relationship that can be very interesting, very fun, very easy, and then turn into this place of total annoyance and tension? Like, what the heck? I can't even stand the way that person breathes sometimes, right? So we see this in our first relationships. We see this when, in teenagers. We see this in their 20s when we're sort of trying on different kinds of people and what works with us and what doesn't, and what happens when it kind of crosses over from something that felt good to something that doesn't feel good anymore, right? We also see this when we're raising adolescents, because there comes a point where our teen, all of a sudden they just can't stand us, right? They can't stand anything about us, and we're thinking, well, what changed, right? So is this really is this annoyance, and what is it really about? So sometimes it's a change of interest, sometimes it's a change of energy, sometimes it's a change in availability, and it is a change in frequency. And it's when we shift from one place to another. And so I brought in this picture, which I want to show you, which is about how the human energy system works a lot like a tuning fork, right? A tuning fork. So, what you have here is that, one person can put out a resonance which can align with another person. And what happens is we sort of coexist together, and we figure out how we're going to align with that frequency of that other person. It's what we do, it's our natural harmonizing, it's our natural resonance building. It's the way that we match vibration, and we can do that whether it's good or bad, or right or wrong. We can do that if it's love. We can do that if it's playfulness and fun. We can do that if it's fear. We do it with anxiety. We do it with anger. So we harmonize with whatever is in front of us, because we as human beings prefer that level of harmony versus dissonance, right? And when we differentiate between this, what happens is that this becomes tension. It becomes some of the most, you can feel it in your cellular structure, you can feel it in your bones, you can feel it in your personality, you can feel it in your attention, in your focus. This tension or this disharmony is energetic. So when there's dissonance in a relationship, what we do is we try to adjust ourselves, like, oh, what did I do wrong? What do I need to do to sort of step in closer or reharmonize? Or we blame the other person, which is, if he did this or if she just did that, then this wouldn't happen. Or we deny, which is, I don't know what's going on. I don't care. It's just odd. And we pretend like it isn't because it's disruptive. Or the fourth one is that we cover it up with self-medication. I have a lot more fun with him when I drink. I have a lot more fun with this friend when we smoke weed together. There's all of these things, which is, I just address the dissonance with other things. The codependent will do anything in their power to shift into that realignment, because that tension is so uncomfortable for them that they can't even breathe. So the codependent will keep filling that gap. So if you have one person here and the other person here, and this person shifts or goes to a different frequency, this one's going to do whatever they can to try to get into that frequency again. And, a lot of our culture is based off of that. So, what if there's going to be an uncomfortable period of time until this dissonance resides, right? Or it disappears, or it's replaced. What we really want to know is, how long is this going to happen? What do I do? And what can I expect? So, what I want to be able to bring up today is that in many ways we've been facing this dissonance since the spring of 2020, whether it's in differences in opinion, taking sides, trying to align ourselves or realign constantly with what's going on, and trying to deal with all of these different kinds of tensions. And so when this shows up and there's this sort of static or shock or disruption, what it means is that we are going to get uncomfortable, and we need to know about that. So the second part that I want to sort of bring in is that, Chiron, as this little planet that I've been playing with in my coaching, it's not a little planet. It's an asteroid with a lot of power because it affects our nervous system. It literally manages or impacts our nervous system. And so we respond or we react in changes to frequency based on our nervous system. And between the period of July and December in 2021, Chiron is going retrograde, which means that it went from out there where it didn't really bother us, right inside, which means our nervous system is activated and more activated than it's been in decades. So when the frequency changes, when the tension exists, it's not personal. It really doesn't have anything to do with that person did something to you, or you and that person, or you and that environment, or you and that job, all of a sudden just are dissonant. And it doesn't really identify you, and it doesn't pick on you. It's just frequency. And so when we're looking at frequency in different elements, frequency in nature is what happens when, like in Montana here, we just finished a 6-week heat wave. And, it's one thing to have a couple days of heat or a big, high temperature, but when it lasts 6 weeks, or smoke or floods in different parts of the South, these are things that nature can sort of throw at us, and we're like, I'm so out of sync. I don't know what to do when that happens. In our relationships, when it's about people we love, people we're close to, people we work with. In our activities, in what we do, what has an interest. Like, all of a sudden my paddleboard's been sitting over here, and I just can't find the frequency to get on that paddleboard right now. The water's cold and the temperature's a little bit colder. That would make sense. In the environment, whether it's the location, the personality of the town, the weather, the beliefs, whether it's your home, your room, your furniture, the environment is going to shift and change, and you're like, I don't even like this stuff anymore. I want to change. I want to do something different. Or in our thoughts, our ideas, our beliefs, our research, our constructs, the way that we've been thinking in linear fashion, and we want to do some expansion. This is all what's going to happen when frequency changes. And when frequency changes, it's natural to expect that there's going to be tension. And so today's the 22nd of August. It's the second full moon in Aquarius. And Aquarius is conjunct with Jupiter. Now, if you don't do astrology, what that really, really means is that the greatest planet for expansion and blowing things up and making them big is Uranus blows things up and gets in and shatters, pulls apart anything that doesn't work. And Jupiter expands. So you can be prepared to be shocked and rocked, out of your comfort zone as this just continues. So it would make sense that when tensions occur, that there's agitation, there's anxiety, there's even reactivity. And when there's this kind of invitation, there's also acceptance, and there's curiosity, and there's possibilities. So I only have a couple of tips for you today. The first one is that you can view any conflict, any dissonance, any tension through the lens of energy. It's not personal. It's energy that's just changing, right? So you redefine it, and you shift it, and you become the observer, and you watch your environment and your world, and it's shifting and it's upgrading frequency. Your people are changing, your views are changing, your body is changing, and all of these have something to do with you, right? Number 2. We talk about this all the time. Find your breath. Use it to stabilize so that you can expand and observe. Get yourself out in nature. It helps. Do whatever you can to sort of slow down. Get your system back into homeostasis. and observe what's going on. It's really hard to be a neutral, to react neutrally to tension when you're tight and when you're strung really and you're in reaction, right? Number 3, relax your bodies, your muscles, and, like bend your knees, move your feet, relax from contraction. What we don't want to do is go into that contraction where we try to hold on to something and control it. What we want to do is we want to release it so it doesn't hurt, so we don't take it personally, right? And number 4, my favorite one is that, what I've learned about these diamond energy children is that they've been described as surfers. They ride the waves of energy. And if you watch surfing movies, if you have played in the ocean at all with waves and water, what you know is that, one will come along and you go, I think I want to ride that. And you get in it, you get on it, whether you're body surfing or board surfing, and you take it for as long as you can, and you enjoy it. It was like, this was, you don't rank it, good wave, bad wave, best one ever. You just ride it. And then when it's done, you get off and you look for the next one. And so this is the energy that we are being invited to learn, because these diamond energy kids are teaching us that frequency is going to come in waves, and it's going to keep upgrading and updating us, right? And it's up to us to relax and ride it and play with it, and realize that this frequency is related to our tension, which is related to our moods and the way that we operate our energy system. So it's all interconnected, and it shows up in our relationships, of course. So this is the kind of stuff I do each week, and if you want more information, you can always find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. Or it's actually DeniseDryden.com now. I took the coaching out. And there's other videos and there's other tips in there. And I would love to hear from you. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy, ride it, and I will see you next week. Take care.